Hello, and welcome to today's event, Financial Transparency for Smaller Cities and Counties, presented by Socrata. Now I'd like to introduce you to Alame.
Thank you, Jenny. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. As mentioned, my name is Alme Borromeo, and I am part of the account management team here at Socrata, working closely with cities and counties across the U.S. Also joining us today is Mike Woods, IT Manager for Hickory, North Carolina. And we are here today to talk about financial transparency for smaller cities and counties and how we help enable organizations to provide financial information to their constituents in an easily understood format with two goals in mind. Number one is really help empower the public to understand the flow of money from revenue to budget to procurement to spending. And number two, to deliver a turnkey experience for customers, giving you an insight on what is going on across your organization from a financial standpoint, giving you access to information that can make your job more efficient, and just how you deliver data internally and externally. Now, before we begin, I'd like to give those who are not familiar with Socrata a quick overview of who we are. We are headquartered in Seattle, Washington, as a software as a service provider with offices in Washington, D.C. and the UK. We have partnered with public sector organizations across the globe and established ourselves as a world leader in open data, government performance management, and improving the delivery of financial data. Socrata is focused on democratizing access to data. So this is data to help with citizen engagement, data to help drive civic innovation, and empowering agencies to make data-driven decisions. Now I'd like to introduce Mike Woods from Hickory, North Carolina. He does bring the city a wealth of experience and a solid background of all things technology. Before making his move to the public sector market, he has owned several IT consulting firms, which he has sold. And just a little fun fact about him, because we are here in Seattle, he was a team of one as a programmer in the early days of Starbucks. Now he spends his days at the city of Hickory, managing the city's IT department and heading various projects, including the most recent efforts around putting the city's budget data online, which is a great segue to the star of the show. And with that, I am going to turn the mic over to Mike Woods and have him discuss the motivators that led them to providing their budget data online, their goals, expectations, and anticipated results.
Thank you, Alme. I appreciate this opportunity. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I'm recovering from a bit of a cold, so I have to ask for excuse on my voice. But basically, we're excited about this opportunity to work with Socrata. And as many of you might understand, the primary goal that I have as the IT manager here at the city is to really provide the technology infrastructure that's needed to implement the goals and objectives that the mayor, the city council, and the city manager are striving to achieve. And one of those goals, obviously, is to make available to the public the city's operational and capital budgets, among other things. We do have nothing to hide. It's all public information anyway, so why not make it easy for the public to find it and scrutinize it and take a look at it. And so we are using this tool, taking this advantage of this opportunity to use the tool to provide an attractive and a user-friendly interface for the casual user without actually compromising the demands that a more intense user might have. We didn't want to present data in kind of a dumbified fashion that was just too simple and too plain. We wanted to give people the ability to utilize tools to analyze the data that we're offering to them. And we see that Socrata has some great tools to accomplish that. And I really haven't been here. The third point on this the screen is I haven't been here long enough to really get a grasp of the amount of time that our staff spends on accumulating public records and filling those requests. And I don't think those will entirely go away even with implementing Socrata. But I do believe that, that having this tool out there will provide a means whereby people will be able to acquire the budget data at their leisure, and I'm certain that the number of requests will be reduced by having the tool out there and available 24/7. So we're excited about that, and we see it as a great opportunity to take advantage of a situation that our city finds itself in. Early in November, we had a vote, and the citizens approved of 2 different bond referendums, one for $15 million and another one for $25 million, to present and to pursue some projects that will help with the economic development of the city, as well as street and sidewalk improvements, as well as doing a fairly significant and substantial project along our waterfront, along along Lake Hickory here in town. So we're excited about that. And with the citizens' trust and willingness to put forth this effort, $40 million is a lot of money for a city of really only having 40,000 people in the city, although our metropolitan area has about 300,000 in total. For those 40,000 people to come forth with $40 million projects, it's pretty substantial, and we want to keep them excited about it. We want to keep them informed in the status of those projects, and we want to be able to hold ourselves accountable to how we're utilizing their money and the things that they've trusted us with. And so we're all very excited about this opportunity to utilize Socrata to help facilitate that that goal. Do you have any questions, Almi, on that?
Oh, no, that was great. You know, the one thing about, you had mentioned earlier about, looking at it from the casual user of being able to understand the data that's putting out there, but then also that engagement piece. Can you talk a little bit more, and I think this is a great, this kind of pushes us to the next slide, is the who, what, and how. So it's really about, who you're targeting, so your audience, what are you looking to do in terms of specific actions you'd like to influence, and what was really interesting is, help promoting the capital project funding, and can you speak a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. We, this was a major planning effort that our city council and our mayor and our city manager and even some staff have been involved with over the past 5 years, to be honest, putting together a comprehensive plan to stimulate the economy here locally and to kind of beautify the area and make it attractive for businesses to come in. And we've been doing a combination of revitalization of some neighborhoods, and these 2 major bond referendums were just a huge component in trying to address those needs of the city to grow and move into the 21st century. And so we see this as a great opportunity. But really what's very important to us and what really drove us to this decision to go with Socrata was that we wanted to make sure that the city remained enthusiastic about these bond referendums. They passed overwhelmingly. It wasn't just a very narrow vote. It was a very overwhelming advantage that the people of the city wanted this. And so we want to keep that enthusiasm high. We want to keep them informed as projects are progressing through the completion. We want to engage them. We're going to utilize some other tools, maybe something like a mind mixer or some other tools like that to kind of help flesh out the projects as they're being designed and solidified. So we want to, that's the one side, get their feedback from those kind of tools, but we also need to give back to them the status and the progress that's being made on those projects as it occurs. And we see that need being met by Socrata's tools. So we're pretty excited about that. And so our audience really is the people of the city who really are putting a lot of financial flesh into the game here to make this all happen.
Thank you. Now, can you talk a little bit more about the communication between council members? So we have this great data. You're able to put it out there. You're able to get the feedback. Can you talk about, again, the communication internally amongst council members and everyone that's in a position of decision making?
Yeah, well, obviously, I think we face some of the similar challenges that every city faces. Our city council meetings are not that well attended. I think there's more city employees or staff people there than there are citizens who are that interested. And the ones who typically show up are the ones that, some of them have an axe to grind for some reason or feel like they've been shortchanged somehow. And so we hear a lot of negative things at the city council meetings. But we want to engage the entire community and not just those who find the time to make it to the city council meetings. Our council members, when we haven't got the Socrata page launched yet. We barely just signed the contract with them a couple of weeks ago, and so we're testing it right now and getting it all fleshed out. But we've shown them an example of how it works, and they are just thrilled. They were just really excited about getting this information out to the city as well as to themselves. And everybody's there's a buzz going on about it. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and we love hearing that. And again, to your point, the data that is being put out there, specifically, budget data, it's a lot more impactful when you can visualize and tell your story behind those numbers versus a PDF that you publish online where they have to page through hundreds and hundreds of pages. And so what you guys are doing, around the budget admin, it is great. It's great not only for your internal audience, but also your citizens. There sounds like there's a lot of focus around, caring and making sure you're hearing what your community is saying, and really keeping Hickory, the city of Hickory, some background on the city itself. It's known for its historical monuments, and a lot of the things that you're doing within the city is, just to help promote that, and I think that's really great.
Yeah, we do have a great heritage here of, I don't know, many people may even know us for our furniture. We've got a great furniture making industry and heritage here. A lot of that furniture making, unfortunately, got shipped over to China, and so it hit us pretty bad economically. But we're finding that there are other companies that are sprouting up here with that craftsmanship in mind, and they're bringing it back home, and they're doing the craftsmanship here, and it's really fine work, and it's really some of the best made furniture in the world. But your point about getting that feedback, when the city does ask us to do things, when the public comes to the city council and they request things, maybe spend more money on parks or fix the streets or revitalize a community or a neighborhood or whatever, by publishing the city's budget, that is the evidence and the proof that we're actually fulfilling their request. As they see a budget for parks, increasing a little bit, or the street expenditures going up so they can address the issue that they're specifically asking for, that becomes the evidence and the proof that we are listening and that we're trying to address their needs and their desires.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'd like to just take a quick pause here for another question to put out there for our audience is, what financial information does your organization share via the internet with its citizens? You may have to scroll all the way down for the options, and then there will be a submit button off to the right. We'll give you guys a couple seconds for that. And I think this is also a great question for you, Mike, in terms of, what type of data, financial data, what's important for the city, and what are you hoping to, put out there in terms of what's visible to your citizens?
Well, that's actually part of the reason we went with Socrata. not only this open budget thing that is kind of our first step into this area, but we're looking at the steps beyond that, specifically open expenditures. We would love to be able to publish, where the money is going as it's happening. The budget is something that we all put together and that's voted on and approved, and then that's kind of locked in for that year. It's kind of static, semi-static information. Whereas the open expenditures is more of a live, and our anticipation when we get to that point will be that as each general ledger month is closed out, we would then publish the expenditure information. Just once the financial period is closed, then we figure that's kind of locked in stone and it's time to present it.
Sure.
And even beyond that, the next step beyond that, we see something like what the City of Edmonton is doing with Socrata, where they're publishing performance measures that are kind of dynamically calculating how the city is doing in terms of its performance indicators. There's very specific numbers. I don't know if many of you have seen their site, but it might be worth a visit to the City of Edmonton's site to see what they're doing. I mean, they show number of accidents and a variety of measures that I'm not sure how they're gathering all the data, to be honest, but it's coming together and it's being presented to the city, which is pretty incredible. So we're looking not just at this first step, but also the steps beyond.
Yeah, and definitely, I mean, when we look at just open data in general, I mean, it can be a lot of things, and we do help guide you as, we're the open data experts, and we help you, we guide you through that journey, and whether it's starting off small with just, hey, let's take your budget data and let's make it easy to understand and in the format that your citizens can comprehend. Let's take that first step, and then, like you mentioned, when you're ready, then let's look at expenditures and how we can expand the information that's available to your citizens to that capacity. And then there's, again, I think, Michael, this might be another webinar that we can hold, but there's just so much that we can do with it. And again, like I said, for the purpose of what we're talking about today, for our smaller cities and counties, let's start off with budget. It's, I guess, the most easiest thing that we can put out there and get everyone started with, which I know the next slide came up, our last slide for the day, which is the transparency through open budget, and talking about your results, Mike. Anticipated results, what you're anticipating the application to do, and again, talk to us a little bit more about that in terms of, again, the innovation and economic activity.
Yeah, well, our goal, and like I say, Socrata is one piece of the puzzle. The other side is getting the community engaged in giving us ideas and collaborating with us on what they want these various referendum projects to accomplish. So we're looking at other tools for that, but then the feedback as the progress is occurring is going to be through the Socrata interface, and that's what our desired result is to close the loop of getting that conversation with the community, get their input and their ideas, execute those ideas and report back to them with the status of what we're doing to accomplish that. And that's our primary objective with this. And our anticipated goal ultimately is a much greater amount of community involvement. So frequently, and I'm sure it's frustrating for most cities to see such a low voter turnout on things that come up, and we want to elevate that. We want to make the members of the community feel like they have a voice, and feel like when they exercise that voice that it's being heard, and they can only realize that if we're giving that feedback to them, and that's where we see Socrata coming through for us.
Awesome, and we're very excited to being able to be a partner up with you to help you get to your goals and provide you with the tools best practices and just the resources that's available in terms of networks of other innovators in this industry. So we're pretty excited, and again, you guys are headed down the right path. And now we will open it up to questions.
There's a question from one of the audience members about publishing budget. I assume it means approved budget versus drafts, if you will, or pre-approved budgets and actually using as part of the collection process. I know we're putting the cart before the horse a little bit, Mike, but maybe you can talk about some of the pros and cons, or how you feel your team is going to be stepping into this budget process.
Well, we understand, like I think a lot of people, that putting together a budget's a lot like making a sausage. You just don't want to see it happen necessarily. So we really want the approved budget. Once it's been approved by City Council and accepted and adopted, that's what we will publish. And like I say, that's fairly static for the year. And then we get into the expenditure side when we start addressing that. But yeah, the budget, we are looking at just publishing the adopted and approved budget as we go forward.
And tell us a little bit about, there's some questions and some interest about the kind of online checkbook, or what we call open expenditures is the product name at Socrata, but there are other organizations that offer this. What is the process as far as the internal discussions, kind of pros and cons? And I would imagine some organizations that we work with have some trepidation about sharing that type of information, and each organization certainly has their level of comfort and security of information and how much they want to share as far as spending. Can you talk a little bit about that process and what your hopes were for it?
Sure. Yeah, we're a little ways away from addressing that, but we have talked about it. And yeah, I mean, do we really want to share with everybody how much we're spending on paper clips? And is somebody going to step up and say, you spent $50 on paper clips, I could have got them for $20 or whatever? You're going to run into that. But the fundamental bottom line is that it's all public information anyway. And if we spend $1,000 on paper clips and we only should have spent $500, maybe we need to hear that. It's a little disconcerting, but I think in my own mind, and I can't speak for my city manager or a CFO or whatever, but in my own mind, it's all public information anyway. If they wanted to request for that through a public records request, they can. So why not just put it out there anyway? That's my feeling. And like I say, we haven't gotten to that point yet. We're just anticipating getting there probably in the second or third quarter of next year.
Okay. All right, and we do have another question here is, as a smaller organization with limited resources, how have you handled the implementation process on your end?
Well, I've got a pretty varied background in IT and kind of done everything for many years. Being an outsourced IT department for a lot of companies across the country. But in our case, we're running an iSeries, call it AS400, iSeries, Power System, whatever you want to call it. We're running the SunGuard Naviline product. So we've got, and I've got years and years of experience on that machine. So it's really easy for me to pull a query out of the database and create a file. And really that's all we're doing is we create two files at this point. Well, three actually. One from capital projects. Then we get the project information, which is kind of limited on the iSeries, but I do have a way of fleshing it out before I hand it up to Socrata. The capital project budget, in other words, the dollar is affiliated with any given project. And then as the third file, we have the operational budget. And those are just three little programs I wrote. You can do them through a query. I happen to write a program because I'm a programmer at heart. But you could write a query to gather that information and download it to a PC and send it right up to their system. It's really quite easy to do. The challenge is not getting the data to Socrata. The challenge is mapping the data correctly to Socrata, because in our example, we have a general ledger account that has 5 segments, And out of those 5 segments, we can actually get 7 different descriptions for that particular GL account. Well, Socrata's operational budget has 5 segments or 5 descriptions that you can affiliate with the GL account. So we've got to map those strategically and make sure it's all correct. So that's kind of the biggest challenge, not really the technical side of getting the data out.
Awesome. And here's thank you, Mike. Here's another question is specific to the data. So the question is, are you transparent on the needs for infrastructure, so long-term bridges, water supply, sewage, and how that is financed, tax, bonds, federal grants?
Those kind of sources of the money, if you will.
The sources of the funding, we're publishing it right along. If you look at the Socrata site, excuse me, it does indicate where the funds come from for those capital projects that you're working on. And that's, I guess, kind of a mixed bag of good news and bad news. I mean, if it's all out of local taxes, people feel like they're getting burdened down with a bunch of stuff. But then again, if you got some federal funding, it's nice to see them come to the table.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're open on that. We're sending that data along with the expenditure side of things. Does that answer the question, I guess?
Yes, thank you. So it looks like we are going to be wrapping it up here. We don't have any more questions. Mike, do you have any last words before we sign off here?
I would just say it's been a pleasure to work with Socrata so far. It's not that difficult to implement it, I don't think. I think just we need to be careful how we grab the data. I know there are some interdepartmental transfers that occur in our budget that don't show up kind of the way that we want them to show on the budget that's being exposed. So we're just kind of facing the challenge of making sure that that the budget we provide is exactly the budget that was approved. And just because of some of the ways that accounting post transactions, we just have to be a little strategic in what we pull and what we export. So, but it all works out. It can work out really well.
Yeah. All right. Well,
thank you everyone for joining us today. There are a few other questions that we will follow up with each of you after the presentation, but we wanted to be respectful of the time that we had for you today on your calendar. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You should see some information on your screen now about how you can join the conversation. You can find us online. We have a variety of white papers, more than a dozen webinars on demand, many of them talking about financial transparency. Join us on Twitter, on Facebook, and we have a whole bunch of videos on YouTube as well. And we thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Mike, and we look forward. We will be on again next month, December 11th, back with ICMA, talking about small cities and counties and the way that they're communicating with their citizens. So stay tuned for an invitation, and we look forward to visiting with you again. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.